Janking up the second we go
It's
live.
it's been a crazy busy couple of weeks, I'll tell you.
My life's been pretty crazy lately too. Had house guests and stuff, plus like rearranging the house and all the normal stuff on
Hey,
top of all
Okay,
that.
wait. Hold up, guys.
now
We're
my
live.
cat's trying to steal the straw out of my soda.
Okay, well, hang on, guys. Hang on. Happy Wine Wednesday, everyone. I hope you're joining us for another open chat. We do have special guests coming up in a couple weeks, but we're here for you tonight. We come every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern-ish. You know, I'm always late. But you were getting a chance to hear the before party that we always have as we get ready to go live, and Kelly does all the technology. Just a couple updates. I did talk to AT&T and Zoom. So I still see them freezing a bit, but it looks to be going a little bit better because I changed some settings with their help. We'll keep working on it. But if I have to jump in and out of the Zoom, I will, because we're here to talk seahorses and reef stuffs. So make sure, give me a wave in the comments. Let me know that you're hearing everything okay, that everything's going good. And Cheryl and I have something to discuss right away, but I wanted, Holly, last week you were asking about test kits and their expiration. And so I did a little bit of research, and
Yes.
I cannot speak. Oh, and you're not going to be able to see this, but I'm going to show the people in the audience. So you're not going to be able to see this, but at least for API, I don't know about Salifert and Red Sea because
Mhm.
currently I use API. I used Red Sea on the reef, and I haven't tested for so long. They're probably expired, and I didn't research those. But with API, on every API bottle, there's a lot number, right, guys? So at the very top, I don't know if you'll be able to see that, but there's a lot number, and at the very end, it says EXP, and it says the date. So for instance, the bottle I'm holding up of nitrate solution is 1
Yeah,
2026. So they
exactly.
they do
Yeah.
expire. I don't know if we got to that point last time or not, but I wanted to let you know I did take that question and try to answer it. So anyways,
Yeah, what I was wondering is that a solid expiration date,
I
or
would
can you use them past that date? Is what I was trying to
You
find out. Or does
can,
that
yeah,
solid
you
mean
can
stop
you
using
use it
oh,
past
the
your
date?
expiration date, but I would not advise you to do it because
Mhm.
there is potential for getting inaccurate information.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. I wouldn't do it either.
that makes sense.
I don't know why I look all blurry. Great. I don't know. I don't know, guys. Guess I'm gonna be blurry tonight. Oh well. Okay. Anyways, I was just checking real quick because you sound kind of staticky to me. So okay. All right. You don't on the film. Okay. All right. And and it's telling me to close some stuff. I wonder if I could close this. That would help. All right. Well, I don't know. Anyways, moving forward. Sorry. Okay. So Cheryl, can you repeat what you were asking right before we started?
Well, I was just commenting that, oops, got to change my view. Uh, that my young male was dancing with his mate this morning, keeping his pouch sealed. He's getting huge. He missed a meal today. He didn't want to come in for his late lunch, and he is definitely his respirations have increased. He's not doing the rearrangement of the pouch yet, side to side gyrations, but he's very close to delivering, and he's just a baby.
Okay, well, a couple of things that you said because my um, yellow ones are much younger than yours because I got them much later. But a couple things that you mentioned I've noticed lately that kind of made me wonder what was up. The first thing you said was that he skipped lunch and then pigged out at dinner. And the second thing you said is that he spent most of his time at the very top of the tank. Do you think that's associated with pregnancy or what does that say to you when they do that?
When I look at a male that have reason to believe is definitely pregnant and getting close to delivery, I look for several things.
Mhm.
One, they're typically going to hang out and hide initially, but they'll come out to feed usually. As they get closer, they're going to start dancing with the female again, but they're going to keep their pouch closed. When I see that, I know usually within about 3 days after they start doing that, they're going to deliver.
Mhm.
His respirations have increased, which is also another sign that he's getting close. But normally, as they get normally the night before they deliver with Erectus, they'll start shifting from side to side, rearranging the contents of their pouch. And it's normally first thing the next morning that they deliver. And he's also missed a couple meals, which means he's hanging out. He's also staying up high at the very top of the tank. And seahorses typically will rise to the surface when they get or close to the surface when they get close to delivering, when they actually deliver the fry. So I'm thinking he's getting very close.
Gotcha. And so my question to you is because I've noticed with my yellow seahorses for Motion Rider, they do not like the bottom of the tank. They stay high. I actually stole Heather's idea, and it's Heather, right? Oh gosh, I'm so bad with names. But anyways, I stole her idea and put the curtain shower rings in the tank because they want to stay up high. And so I've noticed that they stay up high, really high. Like the male constantly has his cornet up out of the water. That's how high I'm talking. And I've noticed that they seem to um, get their respiration increases when they eat. Is that normal?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, because they're actively moving around, they're hunting, they're ingesting food, and so they're needing more O2 basically coming in to
Yep.
sustain their activity level. What you're looking for with the difference in the activity level is when the male hitched right near the top is not moving around, and you look at him and
Yeah.
he's getting close
Yep. Well,
versus he's going normally would be going.
right.
That
Sorry.
was a weird.
Sorry.
No, that was a weird demonstration. It's true.
Well, don't worry.
When
Zoom is
they start
freezing. They didn't see
shifting,
you.
normally start
Go ahead.
when they start shifting side to side and jerking around. I've had males that I have picked up in a, a large tank, 50 plus gallons, move them to a nursery with a real quick grab, and had them back in the main tank after they delivered within 20 minutes, pigging out. That's how
Wow.
upset they were. Oh,
Wow.
okay, now I got food.
That's
So
awesome.
it depends on the seahorse, and that's what yeah.
Yeah.
You need to get to know each individual because they're all going to be a little different.
Sure.
But the thing is, normally with a rectus particular, they head to the top of the tank to deliver. They're going to
Yeah.
hit the highest point that they can still hitch when they deliver. Not all species do that. It depends. It varies by the species.
Well, I think in my case, my male, because he's not pregnant, I've seen them flirting, but they're much younger than yours. And I haven't seen anything unless they slide on me. I really don't think they did. And so I think these guys just like the top of the tank, or maybe like I'm constantly thinking that, you know, they just know, I don't know, they won't eat off the bottom of the tank, which is good. We don't want them to. But I'm just not used to it. I'm used to Erectus that chow everywhere. And the other thing I was going to ask you, I have been using Hikari mysis, um, and they like it. They eat it great. But I've noticed when it's a big piece, they'll do the I don't want to call it choking, the coughing motion, like a couple times after they take a bite. But then they'll go take another one, a snick, not bite. So that's nothing I should worry about, right?
As long as it doesn't, they don't get worse doing it, where they can't take smaller pieces, and as long as they're able to basically ingest it within a couple of snicks, depending on the size of the seahorse. Just because the food can fit in the snout doesn't mean that they're necessarily going to be able to swallow that big of a chunk.
Right. And
And it depends. Again, it's one of those things. Yeah,
that's what
it's
I've
I
no.
one
see
of
them
those things
spit
where,
it out and eat it again sometimes. Like they'll
yeah,
spit it out and then grab it again.
Right. No,
where
and
mine don't.
yeah, I haven't seen them do that. I've seen that before though, Holly. And with these guys, like I said, I'm just
How
used
long
to
have you
it.
had yours, Kelly?
Oh, geez, what? I don't even know, you guys. Month, 2 months, maybe? Not that long. I've got them after you because you talk so highly of them, and I'm very impressed. And I had the trouble with the orange ones, but they're all good now. They're great. But the yellow ones, it's just weird. They've been hanging out more at the top, and maybe they just like it. Maybe the flow's better up there. Whatever, that's fine. But I just noticed, because I know so much from learning from you guys, every little thing worries me. I'm an over worrier, okay? And so I noticed that the male especially will eat a bite, and then he'll do where he opens his mouth and his trigger comes down like a couple times. The food doesn't come back out. I do see the flow of particles out of the top of his head, but it just, I'm obviously going to jump into worrying, thinking that, oh, the silliest, the weak snick, whatever. And they take another bite in a minute, but they seem to take a minute to get it down. So I just wondered, but the other thing is, I tried at one point. I thought, well, maybe these pieces are just too big, and so I tried like mushing it a bit. They will not eat pieces. These guys are probably my fault. I probably spoiled them, but they look for the eyes, and it's got to look like a shrimp and all that. So I just, I'm sure it's fine. I just thought, do you guys see your seahorses do that coughing motion while they're eating sometimes? Is that,
Mm. How long are your how big are your seahorses?
oh, geez, you would ask
Inches.
me. They've grown, I would say they're 4 inches, 3.5, 4 inches. I mean, maybe even bigger. I'm terrible at measuring.
Okay.
I'd say almost 4 inches with the tail curled.
The ones I have yeah, the ones I've only had a few months. However, they've actually more than doubled in size in the short time I've had them. But they are, I broadcast feed,
Hmm.
and they are all over the tank constantly. I mean, as soon as the food hits the water, they're going after it, and there's not going to be anything left.
And you
They're
don't,
just they're motorboats when it comes to.
do you lower the flow, or do you just leave it going?
I turn off the main pump. Otherwise, everything can go into the filter. But I still run a
Powerhead.
circulation pump, and
Yep.
I still run high flow O2. And I
Gotcha.
want them hunting. I don't want them just picking crap off the bottom.
Well, I think I'm gonna change that up because in the all-in-one, I was turning everything off. So then the food falls and they'll eat it as it's falling, but once it hits the ground, they won't touch it. Like if I pick it back up with a baster and shoot it at them again,
Yeah,
they'll eat
I
it, but they will not pick it off the ground. So I'm thinking maybe I need to leave this pump on, or I mean the circulation pump. So I'll
well,
try that.
I leave the circulation pump. I leave the airline on, which keeps everything moving. What little bit does settle as soon as I turn on the main pump, it goes flying off, and they're all over it. I mean, I find virtually no uneaten food in that tank every day, and I look for it.
I do in my grow out tank. I do a combination because I do use the feed button on the pump,
Hmm.
and I always turn off the wave maker because it just blows stuff everywhere. But the pump will be off for 10 minutes. But when it comes back on, I leave the food longer. So they get it with the but it's just that once the pump comes back on, they have to kind of go after it because it'll go shooting around.
Sure.
But they start out with no flow because I'll put it in their dishes, and they'll eat where they're at for a while, and then if they're still hungry, they have to chase whatever else they want to eat.
Mine are always starving.
Right, right. I wanted
I
to
don't
say
eat anytime, day or night, for food.
I have a really interesting thing to tell you guys about food. But
But I'm careful. It's like today.
I'm sorry. You're sorry. I didn't mean to talk over you. It was jumping around and freezing. Sorry. I'm gonna have to call Zoom back. Okay. But anyways, I wanted to say, hey, Chris. So sorry to hear you're not feeling good, but glad you've joined us in the comments section. If you have any thoughts about a seahorse when they're eating, whether they should cough or not, I'm interested. And I did want to say too, this is a lesson for everybody at home. Don't spoil your seahorses because once they're spoiled, because I mean, they literally scared me recently because no, listen, I do use a baster and I sit and throw food at them and they eat it and it's great, but I'm spoiling them. Now they won't eat off the ground. They'll chase it a little, especially if they're hungry. But this one time last week, I ran out of Hikari. Okay, listen to this. I ran out of Hikari mysis, which is what they're used to. I do because of the fact that my rocks are now orange. Every time I clean I now have to clean my pumps like every time I do a water change because this orange gunk is everywhere, and I'm pretty sure it's due to me using too much vibrance. But that's another story we can get into. Anyways, point being, um, now, oh, I'm sorry. So last week I ran out of Hikari, and I have to drive all the way like an hour to the better saltwater aquarium store to get Hikari or anything like that. So I was like, oh man, I don't feel like doing that today. So I just went to PetSmart and I grabbed some Omega 1 mysis, and it wasn't brown, but you could tell it had been refrozen. And I brought it home and I soaked it even in the vibrance. They would not eat it. They ate 2 bites each and were like, "Nah, man, not having it."
Yeah.
And I think we've
Well,
talked.
is it-
I think we've talked about this before, but do they just smell it or do they taste it and realize it's bad or whatever?
I think they must know because mine will not, if I miss some food sucking it up and it's sat
They won't eat it.
too long, they will not eat it. They will not eat it.
I bought
And they are
some of
picky.
that Omega, and there was nothing wrong with it. I was out and couldn't get the Hikari right away, so I bought the Omega, and it was the little cubes instead of buying the Hikari flat packs that I always buy. But they wouldn't eat it.
They wouldn't eat it?
They wouldn't eat it.
Remember, seahorses have a strong visual input on what they consume. And so if you throw something at them that they've never seen before, their first
What the
response is
heck?
going to be, yeah, what is that? And it may not have anything to do with the food. It may simply be, I'll give you an example. A wild caught pair of combs that I had kept for a number of years. They never would touch brine shrimp. They did not recognize brine shrimp as a food source. And this is the pair I spent over $300 on mysid shrimp to deworm them because
Right.
they never, up until the day they passed, they would never touch brine shrimp. They
Mm.
just had no search image for that as a viable food source.
Well, and
And
this is a
when
good.
you're adding different types of shrimp, you may be running into the same sort of
Now,
pattern.
my seahorses, at first, they didn't want to eat the enriched food.
With the
Really?
red,
Vibrant.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, my girl Candy, she's a little pig. She will eat every meal served. And she acted like she was offended by it, frankly. And but she did the same thing, like, and Cheryl explained it to me in the wintertime when the hikari is smaller, when the shrimps are smaller. She did the same thing. Like the first harvest, and they were smaller than usual, and I put them in her dish, and she looked at me like, "What
Yeah.
are you trying to do to
Well,
me?"
the thing is,
She's like,
any
"This is
predator,
food."
seahorses are predators. They have what's called a search image. And what they're looking for is a specific size and motion in what they're going after. If it doesn't meet their search image, there's a very high probability they're not going to try to take it
Mhm.
because it's a foreign entity to them.
Yep.
I mean,
Yep, I agree. Hey, Ray, do me a favor real quick.
Pardon
Just
me?
wave for me.
Wait,
Well, yeah, wave for me. Okay, I was just checking.
good.
Thank you, sir. No, I'm so mad because, as I said, guys, I talked to Zoom and AT&T, and I changed some settings, and I thought things would be better. And now I'm about to blame all of you. I think it's all your internet. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But I was just testing. Anyways,
Though,
Yours is the only one that I find freezes.
what was it, Ray?
yeah, you're the only one that's freezing.
Yeah,
To
the
me,
never,
Ray and
girls
Cheryl
never
are
freeze.
fine.
And I believe you. I really do think it's Zoom. They tell me these settings to change, but the bottom line is on the video it's you guys that look like robots. We'll fix it. We'll figure it out. I'll keep working on it. I was just checking. Didn't mean to go away from the conversation.
the other thing,
Go ahead.
the other thing you have to remember when you're feeding also is if you've got wild caughts, obviously have a specific search image. They're looking for different types of shrimp, amphipods, that kind of thing. And then based on the species, they're going to have different search images for the type of food they're looking for. So
Mhm.
just because one erectus don't like it doesn't mean Combs won't, or crude eye won't, or reed eye, or whatever else. But it depends on what they've learned to consume.
Right, and
That's
with the
that's I think a part that a lot of people miss when my seahorse won't eat.
right. Try something else because right, like the ocean rider seahorses, they're used to eating the red shrimp, and they're different than mysids. Even live mysids, they're different. So, I get your point. It's a good point. Try something else before you give up. And just for anybody who I talked earlier about the coughing, it looks to me like coughing when a seahorse opens its mouth and kind of yucks and its trigger comes down and they're not trying to get a piece of food. Um,
Hmm.
the way you would tell that there's actually a problem brewing is that they wouldn't eat, right? I mean, that's the indication of weak snick, correct?
Well, if you watch them, if they start to do something like that, if it's a one-time thing, okay, maybe they got something that was a little too big, or they got it in the wrong angle, or something like that. But if it's a continuous, ongoing problem, or they're at the point where they're no longer snicking,
Right,
then you've got a serious problem. And
right.
it comes down to a matter of degree.
And I'll just say, unfortunately, this experiment with the all-in-one has completely. I will always say you can keep seahorses in a 30-gallon tank. You can keep a pair, you can. But man, if you want it to be easy, go bigger with the sump because it's just. And I've noticed too, anytime I feel like the male's like a shade darker than usual, or whatever, I do a water change and they perk right up. So it is really, truly, obviously the fact that, there's just not enough water and it gets dirty so quickly with seahorses. So, anyways, yeah, and I will do a post later because I'm really curious what you guys think about the orange rocks and stuff. I am absolutely convinced it has to be the vibrance. It's not the lighting because it's down in my pumps. I clean out my pumps and there's orange gunk. I use a magic eraser. I know Holly does too, and I'll clean the pump and it's slimy and it's covered in this orange stuff. And the final thing I wanted to say is, you know, the beautiful fake yellow trees, coral, whatever you want to call them, the plastic yellow things I had in the tank. Do you guys remember those?
Yeah.
Okay. They keep being covered in this, like it reminds me of when I first started the tank and I overdosed bacteria. And so every time that plant gets even pushed a little bit, all this crap comes off. And it's little stringy white stuff. It reminds me, hey Salty, it reminds me of when the tank was overdosed with bacteria. And I'm like, it doesn't matter if I've just done a huge water change. So what do you think's going on?
One, you've got what you're describing with the white stringy, that's biofilm.
Right.
The biofilm is going to collect anything else that's in the tank. Break in the tank. Have you got sand in the bottom?
No, there's no sand, and I think that these yellow plants, the prongs on them, I don't know how to say the right word, but the pieces that turn into the plant, they're very it's all plastic and it's all spiky, and the seahorses seem to like it, but it just seems like a magnet for anything that's flowing through the tank is going to get stuck in it, and then it becomes this hazardous waste craziness. You know what I'm saying? I have to clean them like every other day. So I think I'm just going to pull them.
I have certain plants like that too. I have one that looks like grass, and the seahorse it's like a little clump of grass, about this big, and they love to wrap their tails around it and sit with that grass. But every time a piece of algae gets loose in the tank, it gets stuck in that grass. I'm always having to rinse it out.
The thing is, if you've got biofilm going on, you most until it gets really bad and starts looking like a Halloween party
Right.
with white stringy stuff everywhere, you're not going to really notice it unless you get your hands in the tank and you can feel it feels slimy, and anything is going to stick to that, and it's not going to go away until you get rid of the biofilm. It sounds like that's what you've got biofilm in the tank.
Right.
And that's usually too high of a nutrient count.
Well, okay, and I'm willing to take that. If that's the case, we'll fix it. But when after we talked on a Wine Wednesday a few weeks ago, and you guys said you're not doing enough water changes, something's not right. And I agreed. I'm not used to small tanks. I did a massive water change, and like I called Dan on the side and I was like, I did this massive water change and it didn't work. And he said, okay, that means you have to do another one and you have to pull all the equipment and clean the equipment. So I did. I pulled everything. I cleaned everything. I mean, pulled everything apart and cleaned it, pumps and stuff, put it back in, and it's not obviously the tank's not cloudy anymore, and aquachar has helped tremendously, but I still do have biofilm, and I'm doing like literally 50% water changes every week. So I'm like, what does it take in a small tank? I sound like a newbie.
Depending on how bad the biofilm got, I did an experiment a few years back with the tank that didn't have any seahorses or anything living in it, and I started dosing vodka. Well, I decided to experiment and see what happened if you overdose the vodka. Now, there's nothing in this tank. It took me over a month to clear that tank back up.
Okay.
It looked like something on a Halloween. I mean, it was bad.
So
in the tank.
So to clean it up,
Really,
did you just do mass?
It just kept proliferating.
Right. So did you just do massive water changes to clean it up?
No, since there was nothing in there, I drained the tank, cleaned everything, put it back together.
Start over.
Well, I
was curious.
Nobody lives
how that.
Well, if anybody,
the vodka would impact the biofilm.
Yep, and if anybody missed the start of this conversation, basically when I started this tank, I hadn't had new seahorses in forever, so I used a whole bunch of bacteria, good bacteria, which did help me, but I already had cycled media, so it was really stupid. It was a mistake on my part. I've paid for it ever since, and I'm still trying to fix it. So don't overdose bacteria either, because that can become a problem too. Even and the orange thing is just crazy. I will post a picture when we're done, but I've never seen anything like it. But hey, what am I if not the person that jumps around to different conversations? I'm curious, Miss Cheryl, because you brought up your combs. Number one, how are they doing? And number two, have we heard anything about Heather's combs? I know she usually joins us.
At this point, Heather's seem to be doing very well.
Oh,
They're coming along. The biggest problem and difficulty with combs is they're typically being sold when they're way too small. They're not stable, and they're already more difficult to keep going. And it's one of those things where, yeah, I've got some combs. They're not really doing much of anything right now, but that's it's kind of like raising CUDA and some of the others that they're like, well, we'll get around to it next year maybe, and just it depends on the individuals.
mm,
But Heather's are doing really well, and there's a young guy that I've been working with that bought quote to Erectus from a local feed store.
mm-hmm.
Well, his roommate happens to be working in marine biology, and he said those aren't Erectus, those are combs. And one of them wasn't doing very well, and I made some suggestions, had him do a couple things, including some water changes. Crossing with our fingers, his are coming back now and looking very good. But it's one of those things where they're they're I call them the seahorse of a different color because they are they're much more methodical feeders. They typically they don't zip around and body surf the way erectus do. They'll play in the flow, but they're very cautious. And at one point, I set up a tank of 65-gallon with a variety of soft corals in it, put some combs in there, and they, unlike Erectus, which would have hitched to everything, the
Mhm.
combs stayed at the back of the tank and wouldn't come out with the corals there.
Oh
So
my.
they're very, definitely a different species to work.
Well, and I just saw Heather in the
Well, they're also,
comments. Oh, go ahead, Cheryl. Sorry. Go ahead.
well, I was going to say, uh, combs are one of the species that are considered to be a reef dwelling species.
Right.
And as such, they may have a genetic uh,
Mhm.
preload that says don't go near corals.
Right. No,
With Erectus, just Erectus will hitch to anything.
that's why we
They're not
need
picky.
right. Well, that's why we need either you or Heather to breed these combs so we can have captive bred that Kelly can own, and I'll play with them and I'll see. Maybe that they could end up a seahorse for a reef tank because they know to avoid coral. That'd be awesome. And guys, I'm not wasted. I just keep looking down at the other people talking instead of looking at the camera. I got to get better at this. But Heather, I did want to say feel free to jump in if you want to chat, but yep, cooking, no problem, maybe next week, but would love to hear from you how things are going. And congratulations that you're doing so well with them. That's awesome. I'm so glad. And I did see Chimp. Hey, Chimp. Just open chat again tonight, but we're glad to see you. And if you have any questions or want any comments, of course, we're paying attention. And go ahead, Cheryl.
Well, combs also tend to grow more slowly. They're much more methodical feeders. You can feed combs twice as much food as you feed Erectus. They'll eat the frozen, and then they'll spend the rest of the day searching the rocks carefully, each hole in every rock, looking because they'll use the tip of their tail and hook, and then they'll start using their long snout to check every hole. And
Yeah.
then when they find something, they'll go motionless and they'll wait and they'll wait. And 20 minutes later, they're still waiting. And you go back an hour later, and then you finally see the snick. They finally got the amphipod or whatever was in the hole.
Now
They're
that
very different to watch.
see, and it's not that extensive, but that reminds me of Barbori, and that reminds me of Aphrodite because she's very finicky. She's worse than the yellows about I want my food in front of me and I want it to have eyeballs and yeah, give me my food. But hey, I did just see that Ray is gonna have to go get Din Din soon. So Ray, is there anything new with you? I know we kind of have shouted you out tonight.
Well, I just find a leak in my basement.
Oh no.
Well,
Oh,
we've had 2.5 inches rain so far today, up until news time at 6, and we're supposed to get another inch yet tonight, and then a few more inches tomorrow.
oh, shit.
Have you ever had water in your basement before?
Oh yeah, but I dig down and I fix the foundation. I dig down right to the footing, and then I take roofing tar and coat the whole foundation
Yeah.
with it. And I put the 6 mil heavy duty plastic all over it, and then I put another layer of tar over the plastic and extend it out past the ends of the plastic. And I fixed the first one back 30 odd years ago, and then I had to do another one, oh, 7 or 8 years ago, a couple of years after the wife died anyway. So I think it's about 7 or 8 years. And now I've got another one. So ours is getting old.
Well, basements can be a real pain sometimes.
Yeah,
They're
but I wouldn't
they're,
be without one.
they're nice
Right.
to have, but when they start leaking,
It's kind of like a sump, right, Ray? Wouldn't be without one. Sorry.
Yeah, well, I can put all my junk down there. But now that the wife's gone, I got too much junk up here. The dining room, you can't see the dining room table, mainly because of all my baking and utensils and the stuff that I use for making my deli meats and sausages and all that. This is all stuff that when the wife was alive, I couldn't do.
Right.
she would have had your tail for that, for messing the
Whatever's
table.
on this place right now, the explosion would probably end the whole earth.
Yep.
We wouldn't have to worry about wars anymore. There wouldn't be an earth around anymore.
Hey, Ray, I think you said last week, is the election that you're dealing with, it's not done yet, right? It's like a month-long thing?
No, voting was on, the regular voting was on Monday. I did mine the Sunday, a week, the Sunday a week before that.
Do you have the
In the
results?
advance polling. The results basically were about the same as what they were before the election was called.
Ah,
The Liberal Party would be like your Democrats. They were in the minority, and they need 170 seats for a majority. Last time they had 155. This time they've got 158.
oh,
So it's basically we're still with a minority government, the same minority government.
Makes sense. Sounds like the U.S.
yep. And final question for you, Ray, because I know you got dinner to go to, and we don't want to keep you from that, but you do still have a seahorse, right? Is it still doing okay?
Well, I have that pair of
Pair.
abdominal. There's a male and a female.
And they're still doing well? I'm sorry, I just forget sometimes.
Well, the male's still got that
They got what?
pinched body, and I have no idea why.
Oh, right. But he's still,
Remember we were talking a few weeks ago.
yes. Go ahead.
Yeah, he still acts completely normal. We never know there's anything wrong. He eats far more than the female does. Female is so fat, it's pathetic. When you look at some seahorses, and seems like you can't really get them to fatten up, and yet this one just bulges out. And the male used to be that way too, but now it's pinched in right above, right sort of mid body. Pardon me again. and the pinch part is right above where the pouch is.
Gotcha. Well,
Anyway, I
I'm
have no
gonna
idea.
I'm gonna text you once this is done because I know I asked you to post it and you probably did, but then I got distracted. So I want a picture so that I can use it to ask other
I showed
people.
pictures and it doesn't show in the pictures.
It doesn't show?
It doesn't show in the pictures.
Oh,
If
crazy.
I had a 3D camera, maybe it would show, but I
So
took pictures and
it just looks pinched in right above the pouch.
yep,
Wow. All
it's
right, well,
definitely thinner at that spot through the body than it is, say, half an inch higher. It's a lot thicker, and then of course the pouch below, abdominalis pouches are just huge,
you know what though?
and they usually keep.
I'm sorry, go ahead. Go ahead, Ray.
The abdominalis pouch are not just big; they keep them inflated most of the time. You very seldom see an abdominalis with a deflated pouch.
Well, I was interested recently, and I know that you've had this abdominalis for a while, so this is something new. Um, but I was recently interested in a friend who might be watching, wink, whose erectus literally looked like a cuda to me because of the shape and the pinched in right above the pouch. And it ended up he was pregnant and he had the babies and everything was great, but it was just interesting that that shape would take form. But you've had these seahorses forever, so this is something that's actually happened while you had them, right?
5 years last June.
Yeah. So, well, I'm just glad that he's still
Yeah,
eating and
5 years
doing
last.
well. I mean, you know, I'm glad that things are still going well for
I
them.
can find someone that wants. I'm trying to find someone that wants them.
Yeah?
It's just getting too much with my health to it.
Well, I don't know what YouTube's rules are. If we get kicked off, that's fine. But are you what are you planning to sell them for?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Sorry, I said, what's your price? Or do you want me to ask you later?
Oh, I'm not selling them. I'm giving them to anybody that is going to promise me they'll look after them the way I know they have to be looked after.
Okay.
Got to keep them at 68 or below.
Well, as soon
So it means in our area, we're going to have a chiller.
yep, well, I have probably 5 friends in Canada that are big time YouTubers that have sponsors that would sponsor them to do a seahorse tank. So let me reach out. I mean, I would hate for you not to have seahorses, but if it makes your life easier, and as long as you still come to Wine Wednesday and share your knowledge, I would be happy to reach out and try to find someone who wants to care for them for sure. I'll do that. Won't you miss them though?
Only problem is they have to be. I can't ship.
They have
The
to be
couriers
what?
won't take them here in Canada.
It can't be shipped.
Ah,
I can't ship them.
gotcha.
When I tried to ship, they told me first of all I have to be approved, and to get approval, I also have to guarantee a certain amount of business every month. So
Yeah,
it just wasn't practical
right.
Is
Well,
that part of
at the time. I sold it.
Is that coming through CITES or is it just through
it's
Canada?
Canada.
Sorry,
Is it coming? Is it part of CITES or is it coming just out of Canada?
is what coming out of
The
Canada?
ruling that you have to
The
do
rule.
so much business.
I think it's the shipping companies, the carriers.
Yeah, shipping company.
They're like that here. When I did ship seahorses, like to Felicia, I frankly didn't do all the rules. I just shipped them. And it worked out for me. Don't do that. Please follow the rules. But the rules for the shipping companies are crazy. That's why as hobbyists we should understand when, you want to buy something from someone and then the shipping costs are outrageous. It's not the person, it's the shipping company. But I get it, Ray, and I'll make that clear. You can't ship them; they'd have to get them. I'll talk to you on the side. But and won't you miss having seahorses, or will it be enough to come and talk about them with us?
Well, I'm obviously going to miss it. I missed having my reef tanks because I had so many.
Right.
Like I used to have around 1,000 gallons in the basement,
Yeah,
and the
but
biggest tanks were 90 gallons.
it's time to take care of you, right? At this point.
Yeah, it's the kidney is getting worse now, so I have to plan for when it does wipe me out. Once it gets bad enough, then I'll be at least 3 days a week on dialysis.
Are you in renal failure?
Not quite.
Well, I'm gonna keep
My
praying.
GFR rate is 32 still. So as long as I can keep it above 32 or above 30, then I'm probably okay. But I've gone down from 41 last year, gradually down to 32 now.
Well, I'm going to keep praying
So,
that things keep going well for you. I know things aren't well for you, but I'm saying I appreciate you. I'm going to do what I can to help you if you do decide to rehome the seahorses. And, we just really so much appreciate you coming and sharing your knowledge. Sometimes us girls get to yapping and we talk over each other. And then all of a sudden, Ray comes in with this ray of truth and sunshine. And he's like, here's the truth. You need a few seahorses like this. So we appreciate you. And, anyways, I didn't mean to go down that road, but I just wanted to make sure everything was still kicking with you, Ray. And you give some great comments and
yeah,
great.
I'm still checking. I still do lots of things, but today was a pain. No, I've been a week without my treadmill because it broke
Right,
down last Wednesday,
right,
and
right.
so I have to use my walker to walk outside. Now, I don't have just a regular walker. I've built a platform above the handles because I can't use my hands to walk with the walker and get anywhere in any decent time. But with this platform on it, it's like if you see old people using shopping carts, when they're going around with a shopping cart, they're leaning their forearms on the shopping cart.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I've done with my walker, and so I'm out there. I'm doing 5.7 kilometers each day. Although today I only did 5.4. 5.4 is the minimum that I've walked in the last 2 years and 3 months. I've never missed a day since an accident that I had back a few years ago. And doing it today in this rain was a pain.
Oh, I
I had
bet.
a golf umbrella I was carrying along with me, and I rigged up a tube so I could stick the handle in the tube there and not have to hold it all the time. But unfortunately, going one way is fine, but going the other way, the wind rips the umbrella
Right.
out of that tube, so I got to hold on to it then. But it's a challenge and it's frustrating, but who knows how long I got to wait. It's probably the same down there. Appliances and everything, furniture and that, it's way back ordered now because of COVID. And the same thing is with the equipment for cardio and that too.
I was just reading an article about how in the UK they're having trouble stocking grocery shelves because they don't have enough truck drivers.
Yep. We are here. We have the
Yeah.
same thing here.
That's a big problem here, and it is there too. You don't have enough truck drivers to drive to get all your gas stations filled up.
Well, I all I have
It'll
to
change eventually, but God
willing, I agree. I didn't mean to interrupt
that's
you. Go ahead.
too many naysayers when it comes to COVID.
Right. And I just want to
Oh,
say if anybody watching is like, why are we discussing all this? You guys don't understand. First of all, Ray is the seahorse expert, and he can, if you have a seahorse problem, he's going to help you. He's gonna tell you how it is. He's not gonna
Not an
cushion it.
expert. I just
You are an expert. You are. And he, as you can hear from him creating this, he creates contraptions all the time. His homemade skimmer is amazing, and he does all these things that in the future we're going to look back and say, holy shit, this guy was a genius. So this is the DIY of Seahorses guy. But we just
well,
appreciate you. And Salty, I did see too, you said you're
I
starting.
just do things I like to have fun with.
Absolutely. And I'm sorry
Expensive,
there's a
expensive
delay.
things that I should be doing.
Right. I hear you. I'm not talking over you on purpose. There's a delay. But I did want to say too, Salty, I saw you started carrying more rock Saturday for a new video coming in a couple weeks. Woohoo! Make sure we know so we can tag it. And still waiting on our friend to respond about coming and being a special guest. And Cheryl, I might hit you up too about Ocean Rider because she knows me, but she knows you a lot better. So we want her to come, right?
I'm gonna go now and feed the seahorses and then feed myself.
Go
So
feed
we'll
the
see you next week.
seahorses and
Good night,
yourself.
Ray.
Thank you, Ray, for coming every week. We really appreciate you.
Okay, good night, all.
Night, Ray.
Good night, Ray. Stay safe.
You guys know that I jump around
The
a lot.
Ocean Rider.
Wait, hang on, Cheryl. You guys know that I jump around a lot, but Ray is like seriously legit. I mean, Felicia, if you ever watch
Oh,
this, you
yeah.
can vouch. Cheryl, Dan, everybody can vouch. This guy has put so much of his life into seahorses, and he is such a good DIY guy. I mean, he's just such a good guy. I just am so really, truly appreciative that he comes. And when someone had, we've been kind of chatting endlessly in these open chats, and I love it. And I love getting together with you guys. But someday when we have people come and ask questions, he's always answering them in the comments. He figured out how to do the comments in YouTube while being in the Zoom. A plus. Most people can't do that. And he is always there to answer questions and help people even if I miss a comment. So just wanted to give a little shout out to him. Go ahead, Cheryl. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Well, I've known Ray since 2007. Your eyes just got real big, Kelly.
They did? Sorry.
We have answered questions to each other, and we've given each other inspirations. And this goes back before he lost his wife, when he was
Yes.
still very active and everything else. And it's hard for me to think of him not being around in seahorses any longer. And so it kind of breaks my heart. That's why I kind of tend to stay pretty quiet because we go back a long way.
Sure. And that's the thing is that that's what I'm trying to do. I don't care what anybody says. Sometimes we get to talking and maybe it's boring or whatever, but this is what I care about and these are the people I care about and these are the people that made seahorses possible for us. Period. You guys are the ones and I put you in that crowd, Cheryl, and I put Dan in that crowd, and you guys are the ones that did the hard work
Thank
so
you.
that we can keep captive bred seahorses and you guys answer all of our questions and you come to Wine Wednesday and I just really appreciate you. You're included in that. So, but I get it. I get what you're saying. It's hard.
Well, thank you.
And what
It's
were you? Go ahead, Holly
one of those
or
things,
Cheryl.
building the nursery tubs, the presentation on the nursery tubs. I'm putting that together now.
Yay!
And of course, it's bringing back all the old memories of what we were doing in 2004, 2005, with people putting them in chrysals and spinning them around like in a washing machine and all the other crazy things people tried to be able to raise seahorses. Now I see people all over that they're may not raising them in huge numbers, but they're having success. And back that many years ago, only the pros, and I mean serious pros, were even able to keep seahorses cry alive.
Hmm.
And it's just one of those things where it brings back so many memories. And Ray was one of them.
Absolutely.
He was my go-to for for redye, and he helped a lady uh, there in Canada, and basically, she ended up at the point that she had male, she she had erectus males in one tank, erectus females in the other tank. The only problem is she kept getting males in her female tank, and she was wondering, trying to figure out how the males were getting into the female tank.
They weren't
You know,
jumping.
those little females were growing pouches. I
Growing the
could guarantee
pouch,
it.
right? Yep,
But it was
absolutely.
this. You,
Yep,
yeah, you find yourself sitting there going, how am I going to explain this?
right, right.
I mean, those are some phrases.
Well, I wanted to say too that Salty Reef,
Really,
sorry if I'm interrupting. You guys are freezing. I'm sorry, but Salty Reef, you said you were looking at seahorses and the prices are so much higher these days, and I agree. When Dan was still active and doing his seahorse thing, I always told him you need to charge more, and that's when I was a customer. I was saying you need to charge more because you're so much lower than the average that people are selling for, including Ocean Rider, including Seahorse Savvy, which they have a right to charge, and they're great seahorses. But he was so much lower that he wasn't able to make that his full time, business after he lost Abby, and gave it up to go to work. And unfortunately, like people, if anybody out there, if Heather or Holly or Cheryl or heck, maybe I'll get into it, or maybe Salty Rob, you will, but somebody needs to get in there and provide competition, because what lowers the cost of a product? Competition. That's what
yeah.
does it. We need someone to get in there. We have Elizabeth too. There's so many names. I'm not trying, Susan, not trying to leave anybody out, because there's plenty of small time breeders that are doing a great job, like Holly, and selling to locals. But we need someone that's able to ship, and Salty, I'm looking at you, dude. I mean, seriously, we need someone to do it. If nobody else does, maybe I'll have to pick up my knickers and do it myself. But yeah, we need someone to provide competition, because they got to be affordable. Agreed. But then again,
Well,
reef fish are all
we had
expensive.
a big coral swap. We had a big
Oh, whoa, whoa,
coral
whoa.
swap here recently.
Yeah, Cheryl, Cheryl,
Here
Cheryl,
in San
Cheryl,
Antonio.
Cheryl, hang on 1 second. I'm sorry I'm interrupting, but I wanted to say
Oh,
also,
sorry.
on that line of thought, it is absolutely imperative that people, any hobbyists, get it into their head that it is absolutely worth it to pay more for captive bred. Okay? If you buy wild caught, go back to our earlier Wine Wednesdays, they're difficult to wean onto frozen foods. They're difficult because they have things that you have to put them through to get them conditioned for an aquarium. They're not used to an aquarium. It's just a mess. So, and we want to leave the captive or the wild seahorses in the wild. They're, some of them are, their numbers are dwindling. We need to leave them alone. We need to buy captive bred. So we're looking for more breeders, but definitely you need to get it in your head, all hobbyists. It's worth it to pay for captive bred. When Salty starts his business, it's worth it to pay for quarantined macros and quarantined everything else, corals, invertebrates. We got to get that into our head. We talked a lot about that at MACNA, how important it is to get it in your head that yeah, it's expensive, but it's so worth it versus taking from the ocean and getting what you deserve. Sorry, Cheryl. Go ahead and speak now. I'm so sorry.
Well, what I was going to say is we recently had a big coral frag swap here in San Antonio. We do it every year.
Cool.
After that, I had at least 7 or 8 inquiries from people that I never met before who found out I was the local seahorse breeder.
Oh,
Now, and they were all wanting seahorses, and they didn't even bat an eye when I told them, $100 for a seahorse.
right.
Well, because they're
But it's
paying
one of
that
those,
for coral already,
yeah.
so that it's just another
And of
thing
course,
to them.
me being me, you're going to get the 3rd degree before I ever agree to sell you a seahorse.
Mhm.
What have you got in the tank? How much experience, the whole 9 yards. And then I'm getting these messages back. I want to learn. I want to do this right. And then I'm like, okay, I can work with you.
Yep, and I want to say in that too. I remember the first time I called, I tried to order from Seahorse Source from Dan, and I tried to place an order, and I'm like, where do you pay? I don't understand. I ordered, where do I pay? And they call me, and I was really irritated. I was like, who are you to question me? I'm just trying to buy your seahorses. Don't ask. I am so grateful to this day that he did that, that's the way he ran his business. And you had to talk to him and explain your tank, because I would have lost every seahorse. Go ahead,
Yeah.
Cheryl. Sorry.
But the thing is, when you're a breeder like one of us, the seahorses mean more to us than a dollar bill in our pocket or a
Right.
$100 bill or anything else. That's not the point. The point is we want to make sure that the seahorses are going into an optimal environment,
Yeah.
and so that they live long and happy lives, because we take it, each seahorse I raise, I take personally.
And you want your customers
And
to succeed too,
absolutely. And if I find out you've got a torch or a carpet nymph or something like that in your tank, you're unfriended, and you are on my blacklist, because I will never sell you a seahorse, because I'm not going to send a seahorse to a situation where I know they have no chance of survival. And what's interesting is I'm seeing this more and more and more, because we're seeing so much more captive bred from Biota and some of the others. And I'm seeing so much more within our group, which is quite large in San Antonio, where people are getting picky about who they sell to, not just
uh,
seahorses, but corals and different fish and everything else.
because a lot of
You
people want
you
to
want to
just
buy
set
an
up.
eel? Well, you can probably buy an eel.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
sorry. I'm sorry.
this
I
is not just.
interrupted. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry I interrupted again, but I was going to say
It's
we
okay.
have a women in reefing video coming up with Amy, who Amy King, who does own an eel, but she went to extravagant lengths to set up this tank for this eel, and it's still alive today, and it's doing great because she took the time and she did the research and she listened to the experts and she did the right thing for it. And with seahorses,
Hmm.
we're trying to do the same thing. So sorry, I interrupted. Go ahead.
Well, it's not just that. You can't tell me. I mean, when I got into seahorses, the average life expectancy was under 2 years in captivity.
Yeah,
Now
look how
we're
much
hearing
we've
all this.
proved.
Well,
Yeah.
octopus only live no more than a year. You know what bull means? I
What?
mean, they can live a lot longer if they're properly cared for, and that's the
Yeah.
thing that we have to look at. Is not just saying, "Oh, well, this is a fantasy. We'll send it to you," but saying, "I want to know exactly what your system is like, and not being mean, I'm going to help you enhance the longevity of this specimen." And I think that's very, very important in this hobby, because the future is we are not going to be able to obtain wild caught in most instances. We're going to have captive breds, and that's pretty much going to be everything down the road.
Which is a good thing
And
in
with
most cases.
global warming, it's going to get worse.
Yeah. Well, I'm all about captive breeding of all species. I think it's awesome that we've made so many
I'm just
advances in the women in reefing at MACNA. Sorry, I keep bringing it up, but I'm posting those videos this week, so everybody check them out, please. And the ladies at Quality Marine talked about one of them, Erin, actually worked on the yellow tang, and it's really cool that we're figuring this stuff out and capable of doing this. I
hmm
mean, that's so amazing. Sorry, I interrupted. And Salty, I see need 6 to 8 erectuses.
we were screaming, "You'd never be able to get a yellow tang again." Yeah, people were screaming, "We'll never be able to get a Hawaiian tang again. They're not going to be available anymore. We can't get them in wild caught out of Hawaii. Hawaii's banned their exportation." Well, guess who's breeding them now? A lot of people.
Yep.
Biota is doing a fabulous job with them.
And
They're
another
not cheap, but as far as superior, well,
with the cheap thing, all I
as
have
far
to
as
say,
superior quality,
sorry,
what you're getting wild caught.
sorry guys, I just
Go
want to
ahead.
announce for anybody watching this, there's a delay with the Zoom. I'm going to contact them again, but I'm not trying to interrupt her. It's that I hear her pause and then I start talking and she's still talking. So I apologize, Cheryl. But on the pricing, I just have to say again, yeah, it is superior quality. It is worth it because whether it be seahorses or any other fish or any other coral, the bottom line is you're buying something that will survive in your aquarium. Whereas with wild caught, it's always a chance. I mean, it's you just never know if they have the gut flora or the immune system or whatnot to survive in your aquarium. I'm not putting anybody down. I'm just saying captive bred is the way to go. It's worth the price if you're going to do the tank, do it right, right? And Salty, I'll get with you on the side about those 6 to 8 erectus. But go ahead, Cheryl or Holly. Sorry.
Well, it's like I see it all the time. Never used to see it years ago, but now in our local reef club, somebody will say I've got such and stuff, which is usually something pretty rare. Somebody else will come along and goes, "Oh, I'll take that." Next thing you know, they're getting the third degree as to what their tank is like, what they've got in it, how long they've been at it. And then they say, oh, well, I'm sorry, I really can't in all good conscience take your money for this fish because this is a very expensive fish and it needs, and all of a sudden it all comes out.
Well,
So they're
but that's
doing
a
it
good
in
thing.
a
That
very
means
kind but professional and informative. Exactly.
yeah, that's what I'm saying
Because
is that
the person that has the fish, yeah,
we need to
the
get to a
person that has the
place.
fish cares.
You talk, Cheryl.
Well, the thing is, what's happening is more and more people, and it's not just with fish, it's with corals and a variety of inverts and stuff like that. And it's, on one hand, it makes it much more difficult for us to get things we'd like to be able to obtain.
Right.
But on the flip side, it's far, I think that's the key.
Yep, I agree with you 100%. And the hobby is changing. We need to, if you went to MACNA at all, you understand we need to support a sustainable future and share with each other and help each other. And captive breeding is the future because these bans and these regulations are going to continue. So if we want to continue the hobby, which means so much to so many of us, we've got to show why it matters, and we've got to also be willing to pay the price for captive bred and aquacultured items. So, but I
Well,
think
yeah.
it's really
What's
good
going to happen with
when a company says I want to, you can't just buy off my website. You have to tell me, that you can take care of it because these species are going to become limited. I mean, they are.
Mhm. Well, with global warming, what's going to happen to abs, potbellies?
Right.
What's going to happen to some of the other cold water fish? What's going to happen as the changing, as the salinity changes, as the temperatures change? We're already seeing, was just reading an article about how the white forest, woodland trees up in the northeast are all suddenly dying, the evergreens, because they're being inundated with steam. Well, that's going to have an impact on fish and a number of other organisms in that habitat. And we're going to see this. We're seeing the same thing in the ocean. And as stewards, we have to protect what we've got that we can raise, and try to get other people become involved in this process.
Absolutely. Totally agree. We need more breeders, y'all, if you're into it. I mean, Kathy, one more MACNA reference. Kathy, the um, winner of the year for MASNA, Aquarist of the year, excuse me. One of them. There was two, but Kathy was one of them, and she was the one that bred the first um, angelfish. Yeah, she did and she did more than that. She did amazing things, and she's an amazing person. And you'll see that video coming as I post it. Hey, Poison, just wanted to say
Yeah.
hey. Um, and glad you agree. We are getting ready to close here in a minute, but I'm going to give Holly a chance to talk because we've kind of cut her off all night. Sorry, Holly. And I wanted to say, for the record, for anybody who watches this later, if you're interested in jumping into the before party, during the Zoom, or after party during the live stream, all you have to do is contact me. We'd love to have you come in. And, I think that we have great conversations every week, but more people means more fun. So, and more information shared. So if you ever want to join, you just reach out to me and I can get you into the Zoom or into the before or after party very easily. Chris, Chris constantly joins us in the after party. He waits till Kelly's drank a bunch of wine and then wants to ask me questions. But anyways,
Well,
go ahead, Cheryl.
I was just saying, I think I mentioned it earlier. I have now got, I'm actually at the point now where I'm putting together the entire presentation for Bill to why the tubs are so much more effective than square tanks and why they're so much easier to work with. And I've got pictures showing each step of the way that will be labeled. So people that don't know how to plumb stuff, I'm going to have all the information in there showing each piece, whether it's a basically a slim or a soft bit, or if it's a thread.
You're going to give us a play-by-play,
Kind of
this
so
step to this step.
Look at this. Yeah.
I'm
Is it,
so
and
sorry.
so I'm even showing how which threads to use and all the different pieces and showing how to put the whole thing together. So I'm hoping anybody that looks at this can basically build a nursery
That will
tub
be
for
awesome. I
I
can't
was
wait.
I was I was just getting ready to say Holly's been waiting for this
the 2 words you need
forever.
to, yeah.
So for my Seahorse,
Yeah.
they're
You need to,
holding off
the
until
word,
the
2 words you need to know is slip to thread or thread to slip.
Anybody out there who
Okay.
doesn't have a single
Slip is
clue,
a piece where you can put
anybody out there who doesn't have a single clue what she just said, I
a
promise
slip is something.
we'll
Okay,
go through it
slip is
here.
where you can
Wait,
slip in a
wait.
piece
We'll
of
go through it
PVC.
here and we will make
The
sure
thread
that sorry.
is where you, yeah, the thread is where you can twist in and attach a fixture. It's like my ball valves, because of the way they mess up, they're both thread to threads because I can unscrew
Yeah.
and pull them out and pitch them out if they mess up. Some of the other stuff is I use a slip to thread. And I'll explain all of this in the whole thing I'm putting. The critical thing you have to keep in mind. It'll work. Trust me, I've got pictures of everything.
Wait, what was the critical thing? Wait,
That's
what?
And I can
I'll
even
need
change
that.
the labels. It's like, you need 6
Okay.
elbows. And you're like,
Okay.
I only need 2. No, you need 6 for this.
Okay, wait. Hang on, guys, because
You
it's
don't know what
really,
an elbow is.
it's
And
really. Wait. Time
Yeah,
out. Time out. It's glitching really badly.
I know
So,
some of the things.
so it's glitching really badly. So I'm going to end up ending the stream here in 5 minutes. I have a question for Cheryl and then for Holly, but I wanted to say, Poison, congratulations on the camera and microphone. Can't wait to see what you do with it, and hope you come on my Wednesday for sure. And real quick, Salty, I'm going to ask your question to Holly, but Cheryl, what was the most important thing? Did you just say, or did I get that confused?
the most important thing that I said
You said
was
everything you
that
said was important.
I've got the presentation. I've already got part way through it. And I have 4 thread on that end to put them together.
Awesome. And I just wanted
Think
to
about that.
Yeah, yeah, I heard you. But I just wanted to say for anybody watching, in addition to Cheryl's document that she's putting together being on Seahorse Sources group, I can announce that Women in Reefing and the Seahorse Whisperer website are very, very close to being up. So we will be sure to share all this information there too. So we can't wait to see it, Cheryl. And Holly, Salty Reef wanted to know, have you started shipping? He's looking for 7 to 8 seahorses, 6 to 8
No,
seahorses.
not yet. It's still. Oh, I have 8. I'm not shipping though. They're about a year old, but it's still pretty hot here. So
I've been
they'll be a year old in October. So I don't know if you're looking for young ones. I don't
I was
have.
gonna
They're not real young
say
anymore.
I'm thinking about picking up another
They're
female.
too big.
Yeah, I'm thinking about picking up
I
another female from OR. However, I'm waiting until
hmm
I'm sure the temperatures are going to be cool at all locations. Just like last week, I looked in Memphis. Well, I'm not going to buy a seahorse that has to have a stopover in Memphis, knowing that they're going to be flooding.
Right.
Yeah. And my seahorses, they're getting big now. They're not little anymore. They're almost a year old, so they're about 7 inches. And I think they're too big to
Actually,
ship.
do
I
really
get ammonia and stuff. Is
well.
what
Yeah,
I'm afraid.
yeah,
But
yeah,
you
yeah.
need to
But
get
no,
the
no, no,
bigger
no, no,
bags.
no, no. Wait a minute, wait a minute,
Did
wait
you
a
get
minute.
the flat bottom bag?
Wait a minute, time out, because I wanted to say that's not true because most of the seahorses that I got from Seahorse Source were 5+ inches, and the most recent ones were at least 7 inches. And so that's not true, but I understand your worries, Holly, about it, about the bag space in the water. And I forgot what else I was going to say, but go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry. Go ahead. Actually,
Yeah.
okay.
So it's still. I mean, where I live, like today we were 87, which
Yeah.
means in the valley where they travel through, they're close to
Well,
100
and it's like I was
degrees.
looking at the stuff
So
too. Parts of Hawaii are under a red flag warning for fires. Well, I'm not going to buy seahorses to be shipped out in the middle of a major fire alert. It's me. I just won't do it.
You gotta be,
And
you
like
gotta pay
yeah,
attention
you've
to the
been warned.
weather. You gotta pay attention to the weather and, where they're coming from and where they're going. Yeah, we could talk about this in depth. But guys, it's really, I'm so sorry,
And
but go ahead, Cheryl, finish.
you got to plan on FedEx. You got to plan on FedEx losing your shipment.
well, that's why I use UPS.
So does Ocean Rider
I
now.
didn't say that.
Ocean Rider does too
What's
now.
really funny though,
Yeah,
I had
there's UPS too. Huh?
I had another shipment coming in, not live, fortunately. It was delayed 2 days.
Ah. See, and I'll
And
just
that
say,
was stateside.
yeah, that's crazy. I will say that when I got my Seahorse,
I don't remember what I got, but
sorry, I
made it.
we're talking over each other, you guys, because of the delay. I really apologize.
Oh, and
but I will say,
FedEx is raising their rates, by the way.
nice. I was gonna say that the seahorses I got from Ocean Rider, she specifically told me they're coming from UPS. I think she knew there was a problem. I'm not saying she said that. I'm just saying I assumed it. But they came right on time and perfect. So, and Holly's seahorses came perfect too. So we'll talk about that later. But I'm gonna do last call, guys, because it's really glitching. And as much as I love Wine Wednesday and getting together with you guys, and I hope more of you guys that are in the audience come and join us in the Zoom, even if it glitches, we do get to talk before and after, and we make
UPS
a
is doing
good
much
video.
better than FedEx.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and
call.
Absolutely. I
Mm.
appreciate that. And Holly, I want to give you absolutely last call because you've been ignored this whole stream. Sorry. Do you have any questions, comments, thoughts?
No, no. I'm good. I've been real busy because I've been rearranging my house. So
She's got
yeah,
Halloween
I've been
stuff.
busy
Everything is
with
fish
that
and Halloween.
fish and Halloween all over. But I have a fish section in my living room now, and I'd be in there, but my husband's in there watching Pink Floyd rather loudly, so there'd be too much noise for one day, so you can actually see the seahorse.
She's got a what do you call those things? Those couchy thingies where one person can
Oh,
lie on them all the way.
chaise lounge. Yeah, the chaise lounge in
She's got
front of
that
the
in front of the
seahorse
Seahorse
tank. It's
tank.
nice. Yeah, yeah.
It
I
reminds me
like
of
it.
Damn bucket of salt.
that reminds me of
Well,
the sea
I
shed.
did my first cleaning today with the chaise lounge there. It was challenging because I don't have much space for my bucket when I'm cleaning the
I did
tank.
notice
It
that.
was
I did
interesting.
notice that.
Oh, you guys, I have a
It's
great
crowded.
I have a great question for next week. I had to buy because my local store only sells salt like in the big $50, not gallon, $50 buckets. And every time they get hardened at the bottom. And I don't know if it's humidity or what. So, yeah, maybe you can answer me
It
5 minutes
must
from now. And
be. Is it humid where you live?
it
It,
is. It is. But yeah, guys,
yeah,
guys,
but I don't really get it.
Have you checked the bottoms to see if there's any cracks or holes in them?
I
My first thought
did.
is you're getting moisture in there.
I did, and I guess here's my question about that. We'll talk about it more next week, and hopefully Poison will join us. But do you need to, when you crack the seal on a big bucket of salt, you have to keep it in a dry place for sure. But do you need to make sure is it bad
Yeah.
if the lid is not completely pressed in? Maybe that's what I'm doing wrong.
I pressed mine down, so I don't know. I don't just lay it on there, but they're not pressed so
Yeah, I
tight it's
pressed
hard
mine
to get
down.
off.
I jump on them with both feet, but I'm small, literally. I packed those suckers down tight. I got in a shipment. One bucket had a crack in it, and I literally put it into a huge plastic bag, put it back in the bucket to protect it, to make sure it
Ooh,
didn't
that's a
get
good
moisture in
idea.
it.
That's a good
The
idea.
ocean. The other thing that happened.
I love that. But listen, you guys, we could
after a while.
we could talk all night, but unfortunately, I feel like I look
I
stupid.
did the same thing with my cat's clumping litter.
You didn't what?
I do the same thing with my cat's clumping litter.
Oh, nice.
I'll buy a 25-pound box of it, and then it goes into a plastic bag, and then it goes back into the box to make sure it doesn't get moisture in it.
It'll start clumping.
Well, we're in Texas. We get a lot of humidity.
Yeah, I think that's not a problem here. We're pretty dry.
Dry,
as you all know,
right,
so
yes.
I don't have that issue with this.
Okay, if anybody says the word
You can
moist,
just
I'm
take
gonna
the
be
bucket
mad. I
and
don't
put it
like
in the
the word moist. Don't. My state is wet, not moist. Okay, but I'm gonna say I'm gonna say real quick, guys. I don't know
Wait
if
a minute.
it's.
What's the difference between wet and moist?
I'm not gonna explain that live. I'm sorry, but
I don't know. I can't.
I'll explain it to you in 5 minutes because, guys, it's glitching really terribly. Looks like the settings from Zoom didn't work out as well as I'd hoped. I'll try to fix it by next week. We have some special guests coming up. So if you stay tuned, we'll fix it. Poison, hope you can. I know. Can't wait to join the glitch. But we have an awesome after party, and once I fix it, it'll be great. And when we do have guest speakers, I'm going to make sure they're the only person with me so that we can actually get their information. But love you all who joined. Mwah. And we're going to call it for the night, and I'll call Zoom again
Holly,
tomorrow.
wait a minute. Holly,
Yes.
Holly, what are you eating?
My sister-in-law
Oh, yes.
makes cakes, and she is here making a wedding cake. It's got chocolate layers, and it's got she just brought me a spatula of buttercream icing.
Yum.
Sample.
All of a sudden, all I see is these people.
And she made
like,
like
what?
raspberry frosting and strawberry frosting with actual strawberries in it. Oh my gosh.
So
And you know
That's
what?
so
You
if I
need
ever
to
get married again, can I get your sister to make me a cake?
exactly. And I'm saying you need to tell her to serve watermelon champagne with that cake. Holy moly. Oh, so good.
Mhm.
Okay,
Oh,
guys.
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
that's
No, the
amazing.
cake, you can taste the champagne and strawberries in it. It's so good.
If my
Yeah.
doctor wants me to gain weight, I need 2 or 3 of those.
Well, I think it would work. This stuff is really rich.
I get so
I don't need
jealous.
to
I
be
can't
eating
eat that
Hey,
stuff.
enjoy what you can.
Enjoy it for us all. Okay, guys.
Yeah.
I am gonna call it because I can't even hear you guys talking. It comes like 10 seconds later. But everybody, Holly, do a icing lick. Cheryl, give a wave, and I'm gonna say cheers. Okay. Happy Wine Wednesday, everyone.
One last
Cheers.
thing.